The hills of Appalachia are full of tales of monsters and ghosts. Just like the hills themselves, some of these stories are ancient. When you think of Appalachian cryptids, you probably think about the Mothman or the Flatwoods Monster. But what if I was to tell you there was a cryptid older than both of those legends combined? Older than the United States and even older than the first white men in North America. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about the Wampus Cat, Appalachia's oldest monster. The Wampus Cat is said to stalk the forest of the Carolinas, Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Basically everywhere in the eastern United States where mountain lions used to roam. The term wampus comes from the term catawampus, which means weird. It means it's off, something uncanny. Some descriptions of the Wampus Cat have it as a mix between a big cat and a gray wolf. And in another account, the Wampus Cat has 6 legs, 4 for running on, and then 2 more for just slapping and scratching the crap out of anyone close enough to mess with a 6-legged big cat. In yet another iteration of the legend, the Wampus Cat is a big cat with the face of a woman, which, let's be honest, that's less scary than just a big cat. Like, a mountain lion has a bite force of 750 psi. Take that away, it gets less scary. Like, what's she going to do? Tell me about how she only dates dudes over 6 foot, or tell me that her mother was right and she should have just married Bill the accountant? Like, no, this is the lamest version of the Wampus Cat. But the greatest and scariest accounts of the Wampus Cat come from the Cherokee. The Cherokee told of a creature with glowing yellow eyes, massive fangs, and a blood-curdling scream, and they called this creature the Away. In a lot of their accounts, it was once human. Now, if you want to learn more about the Wampus Cat, 2 excellent resources are Monsters of West Virginia by Rosemary Ellen Golly, and the other one is Spooky Appalachia. No relation to our boy, Spooky Appalachia, but definitely go check him out, by S.E. Slosser. So both of these are really good resources if you want to learn about the Wampus Cat or just Appalachian folklore in general. And I'll leave them back there for the rest of the video. And before I go on, in some accounts, the Wampus Cat can also fly. Because why not? So one of the Cherokee legends goes that there was a group of men who went on a hunt, but one of their wives was a little jealous and decided to follow and spy on them because she didn't trust her husband. So she put on a mountain lion pelt and followed them, spying on them, to make sure her husband wasn't planting maize in another field, so to speak. Eventually they caught her and reminded her that the weekends were for the boys, but they forced her to wear the mountain lion pelt for the rest of her life. After she passed away, she returned as the Wampus Cat. Let me say that again. She returned as a zombie, big cat, angry woman. Do you know how terrifying that is? You know how they say hell has no fury, like a woman scorn? Cool. Now make her an undead revenant with big old mountain lion meat mittens attached to the end of her arms. That is terrifying. I am afraid. I am terrified of women with just acrylic nails. Do you know how much this horrifies me? Another tale from the Cherokee, the original Wampus Cat was just more of a giant demon-like creature. While out on a hunt, one of the men from the tribe stumbled upon this thing, and as soon as he looked upon it, he was driven insane. Other members of this hunting team were killed, some were injured. When they came back to town, one of the wives of these men vowed revenge on this giant monster demon creature thing. Do you know how insane that is? That is like a fisherman in the 1920s going out, seeing Cthulhu, a giant fish demon monster thing, going insane, coming back, being locked up and committed to Arkham Asylum, and their wife being like, okay, grab my shotgun, I'm gonna go hunt down a giant elder god. Except for this Cherokee woman pulled that feat off. She made a mask that looked like a cat, and she snuck up on this giant demon monster thing, scared it, and she scared it so bad it basically fled to another plane of existence and was never seen again. And in those tales, this woman would become more of like a guardian spirit for the tribes, for the Cherokee people that still roams the woods to this day. As time would go on, white settlers would move into the areas and they would hear these legends, they would hear this folklore from the Cherokee, and they would adapt it with a mix of their own European folklore. Just like how today we kind of modernize and update Batman like every 3 to 5 years. Yeah, they did the exact same thing with the Wampus Cat. But these stories involved a witch that could shapeshift into animals, and what this witch would do, if she saw an animal that she liked, she would shapeshift into a cat, sneak into the farmer's house when the farmer had gone to sleep. She would change back into a witch, put a spell under the farmer and their family so that they stayed asleep for longer, change back into a cat, sneak into the barn, change back into a witch, steal the animal, and leave. Over time, more and more people from this town became aware of what this witch was doing. They noticed more and more of their livestock would come up missing, and then it would later appear at the witch's property. So the townsfolk devised this plan. They were going to pull together all their money and buy a really nice llama, because witches love llamas, and they're going to put it in old Jake's field. And then when they notice that the witch has started paying attention to the llama, a couple dudes from the town are going to start hanging out in the barn. And then eventually she's going to sneak into the barn to try and steal the llama, at which point they're gonna catch her. And that's exactly what happened. One night they notice, they put the llama in the farm, or whatever animal it was, they didn't really go into much detail, and they notice a cat go into the house. They notice the witch come out of the house, change into a cat, crawl into the barn, and once it's in the barn, the witch starts changing back into a human, at which point the townsfolk jump on her when she's like halfway in between this transformation, and she gets stuck halfway between a cat and a woman, which is great. They caught her in the act, right? No, she proceeds to just whip the crap out of them, because have you ever tried picking up a cat that doesn't want to be picked up? Basically that, much larger. Anyways, this witch would break free and run into the forest, where she, assumably still is to this day, as the Wampus Cat. And people from these regions claim to have sightings, but especially hear the Wampus Cat to this day. Supposedly the Wampus Cat can mimic both the screams of women and the crying of babies in an attempt to lure out victims. So if you find yourself in the woods of Appalachia, be on the lookout for the Wampus Cat. Maybe carry a laser pointer or a ball of yarn in your backpack just in case. But I've been the Best Virginian, and as always, thank you for watching, if you've made it this far, and subscribe if you haven't, and just go down there and make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube has been unsubscribing people here lately. And what's your thoughts on the Wampus Cat, and what other Appalachian cryptids you think I should talk about in the future? Let me know down in the comments, but until next time, don't forget to stay wild, stay wonderful, and I'll talk to you later.